So welcome everyone to Social Security for Widows. My name is Paula Harris and I am with WH Cornerstone Investments. I'm one of the co-founders and I'm here with my business partner and husband, Bill Harris. So we are excited to have you all. We had twice as many people sign up this year from last year. So I think that's good news that people are excited to I shouldn't say excited may not be the right word, but are interested in learning about Social Security. So we at WH Cornerstone, we are a registered investment advisor. So we act as a fiduciary for our clients as we provide investment services as well as straight financial planning services. And we are based in Massachusetts, serving clients throughout the country, which is very nice. And Bill, I'm going to turn it to you to introduce Marcia, if you don't mind.
Be my pleasure. So welcome to tonight's program, everyone. I'm so excited to introduce our speaker. We welcome our very special guest and our friend, Marcia Mantell, for this important program. For nearly 30 years, Marcia has worked for big financial services firms, helping advisors increase their knowledge of complex retirement concepts and regulations by turning the technical into the tangible. Marcia launched Mantell Retirement Consulting in 2005. She develops innovative retirement income planning workshops and programs, fun and engaging retirement education programs and seminars, and writes extensively as a guest columnist and content creator and curator. She is considered a retirement industry go-to person for Social Security and Medicare expert level information. She loves talking about baby boomers. Marcia and I share something special. She holds a retirement management advisor designation. She is an active member of the Investment and Wealth Institute, formerly of INCA, where she lends her expertise to developing curriculum. She has earned the National Social Security Advisor certification, and it is my pleasure to welcome my friend Marcia Mantell.
Bill, thank you so much. Paula, thank you for inviting me back, and welcome everyone. I would agree, Paula, this might not be the most exciting topic you've all thought about, today, but it is super important. So we are going to cover some really good stuff for you, things you need to know about your Social Security as a widow or widower. So I'm going to spend 35 minutes or so going through this presentation that I have to lay out the ground rules and the way Social Security works when you are a widow or widower. And if you have questions, I think, Paula, we're putting them in the chat. Is that a good place?
Thank you for reminding me of that. Also, I want to ask everyone to mute themselves, but put your questions in the chat. Marcia's going to speak for about 35 minutes, and then Bill will help moderate the questions at the end. If there's anything burning that needs to be clarified, we will do that on the fly, but otherwise we'll hold questions to the end. So I'm going to mute myself and ask others to mute themselves as well.
Thank you, Paula. Thank you for the extra logistics. So what I first want to lay out is Social Security has programs and is set up for retirement benefits and for surviving spouse benefits. There are disability benefits, family benefits, some other things, but tonight we're really going to focus in on what it is to be a widow and have to think through the decisions you're going to have to make. So what I'm hoping you're going to get out of today's session is that realize and understand that your personal situation is truly unique here. And it will dictate the benefits that you're going to have available to you and when they become available. So we're going to go through a variety of scenarios, and hopefully I've figured out one that applies to you, but if it doesn't, we can certainly talk about that at the end. Also know that survivor spouse benefits are different than retirement benefits, and you get to choose which benefit to take first, and then if it works, do you switch to the second benefit if it pays a higher benefit. And I'm just going to say right up front, this is all complicated. So it's knowing that you have options. That's the important thing. I've got a lot of information towards the end about steps to take and where to get good information. And of course, talk to Paula and Bill, because this is how it will all come together over time. And you need to prepare your strategies before going to see Social Security. The folks there have a particular job, and it is to take an order. You tell them what you want and they execute the paperwork for you. but they're not there to help you strategize. Oh, should I take my retirement benefit first, or do I take my survivor spouse benefit? That is not what they do. So that needs to be done before you meet with them. And so that you know, the only way you can get survivor benefits, you do need to meet with Social Security, either online or in person when the offices open up again. And when you're comfortable going in person, they'll need certain documentation, but you cannot apply for benefits online. So that's the backdrop. And what we're going to cover today, we're going to go through some of the basics, how your benefits are calculated as a widow or widower, switching benefits, and where to get more info. All right. So who is eligible? And I just want to see 1 second. I cannot read my top. Well, doesn't matter. Who's eligible for benefits? Surviving spouse benefits apply in many different situations. It could be the person you married, 50 years ago, and then they predeceased you. But the rule is you needed to be married to a spouse for 9 months or longer. They then died and you have not remarried. So that would be your current spouse died and you're eligible for surviving spouse benefits. Or it could be that you had one or more short marriages that ended in divorce, but you then remarried and that current spouse died. Or your spouse died years ago and you've remarried after age 60. So it could be that you are a widow from 1992 and you remarried much later. You still may be qualified for spouse benefits, surviving spouse benefits. You're also eligible as an ex-spouse. And this is often a surprise to folks who are divorced. But if you meet certain rules, mainly that you were married for 10 years or longer to your ex, and your ex predeceased you, and you have not remarried, you're eligible for ex-spouse surviving spouse benefits from Social Security. And the key really is that you're married for 10 years or longer. That's why on the other side, if it was a short marriage, they sort of don't count from this perspective. But married for a long time, and you remarried after 60, still qualifies you. And if you were married and divorced more than once, and at least one of the marriages lasted 10 years or longer, still eligible. So that's who's eligible. And this applies whether you're married and divorced, married to opposite sex partner or to a same sex partner. So rules are rules with Social Security. It's gender agnostic. It's people. This is not only just widows get these benefits. If you're a gentleman out there, and I can't see who's on, so I'm going to talk to this as widows, but if there is a widower, know that I'm talking to you too. So here's something I'd like you to write down if you have paper and pencil, or stick it in your phone. Your full retirement age. Everything in Social Security benefits is set up based on and anchored on a particular age when you meet that age. And it's based on the year you were born. And as widows, you have two dates to be concerned with. There's first your own full retirement age for retirement benefits. That's on the left. So if you just track down what year were you born and jot down your full retirement age for retirement. So that way, as I go through these formulas, you can think about exactly what applies to you. So if you're born in 1957, your full retirement age is 66 and 6 months. Now, the chart on the right is for survivor benefits. So again, these are two different buckets of money that you have as insurance benefits, your retirement benefits and your survivor benefits. So jot down your different date and age for when you reach your full retirement age as a survivor. And again, 1957, now you become eligible for full survivor benefits 4 months earlier than your own retirement benefits. So you go from 66 and 6 to 66 and 2. So just jot down your applicable dates. And if you have questions on that later, I'm happy to come back to the chart. Now, Social Security has different benefits eligible to you, and you're going to be eligible for 2 or 3 different benefits, but you only get one at a time. And the goal in your strategy and planning is that you get the highest single benefit for the majority of your retirement years. So you're going to want to look at your own retirement benefit, your spousal or ex-spousal benefit, and your surviving spouse benefit. And we're going to look at each of those threes in order. So your retirement benefit is that which you've earned on your own work history, if you have your own work history. And this is where the FRA comes in. So you have your full retirement age for retirement. And this is when you get your unreduced benefits. It's the amount you see on your statements. At age 62, you can claim as early as age 62, but your retirement benefits will be reduced significantly, 25 to 30% reduction. But if you wait till age 70, here's where you get your maximum benefit. So only on retirement benefits. So the years you worked and have your own earnings, that's when you get a maximum benefit at age 70, because you're accruing these extra credits at 8% per year. They're called delayed retirement credits. So keep in mind, age 70 is your own personal work history's highest benefits. That is different from spousal benefits. Now, as married women, we very often are eligible for spousal benefits. And these benefits are amounts that are due to us based on our husband's or our spouse's work history rather than on our own. So it's determined on the higher earner spouse. So assuming your husband was the higher earner, you would be eligible at your full retirement age for a maximum benefit, which is half of his. That's your spousal benefit. You can also claim as early as 62. Again, you're going to lock in a big reduction. This time it's 30 to 35%. But this may be a benefit you have and needs to be considered in your strategy. And as always, Social Security does everything. All the calculations are based on full retirement age, and they are reduced if you claim before your full retirement age. Now, survivor benefits are different. Survivor benefits are anchored on your survivor full retirement age, which again is several months before your full retirement age for retirement. It's at your survivor FRA that you would get your maximum survivor benefit. So there's no reason to wait until 70. That only works for your retirement benefit. Now, if you claim earlier as a surviving spouse, you can claim as early as 60. So not 62 anymore. Now it's 60, but you get reduced payments each of the years that you and months that you apply and start your survivor benefits early. It may be a very good strategy to start these benefits early and then switch to your own later. That's part of the equation. As a widow or widower, you've got to figure this out. So let's move into calculating your benefits. So your dollar amount is going to depend on all the factors that are unique to your situation. You know what I just covered in the last few slides, those are the general rules. Now, to figure out your own benefit payments as a surviving spouse, well, it's going to depend on a whole host of situations that were unique to you and your spouse. So how old were you when he died? How old was he when he died? Had you reached your full retirement age? Had he, was he eligible for benefits? So had he already earned 40 credits, or was he a very young man and died very early? There are different formulas for very young workers who die very early. Was he collecting benefits already or not? Were you collecting benefits yet or not? And are there any minor children involved? So all of these things come together to make for your personal situation and the application of the rules specific for you. Now, the most important considerations out of this laundry list here, it really is on how much your husband or ex-husband was receiving or could have been receiving and when you claim. And then we'll talk about the order of claiming in a bit. So,
Marcia, can I just jump in real quick?
Yes.
Can you define what young means?
Oh, like if you had a spouse who died in their 30s or 40s, they may not have worked long enough to earn 40 credits, but that does not mean they're not eligible for Social Security benefits. There's just a different formula for those benefits, and Social Security will calculate it for you. Thank you for that question. Again, I cannot read the top of my screen, so I don't actually know what I put in that header, but I know I'm going to talk to you about some examples here that I wanted to show you what happens when your spouse claimed at certain times, what happens to your spousal benefit and your survivor benefit. So looking at this first example, let's say that your husband claimed at his full retirement age and was getting $2,000 a month. Your spousal benefit would be $1,000 if you're eligible for a spousal benefit. And when he died, you would step into his shoes and receive $2,000. Now, if he claimed early before full retirement age, say he claimed at 62, if you still wait till your full retirement age, you still get your $1,000 spousal benefit. But when he dies, your benefit goes away and you'll get his $1,500. And if he claimed later at age 70, you still had $1,000 spousal benefit. But when he dies, or when you eventually claim, you would get the amount he was collecting, which is his age 70 benefit, or $2,600 a month. So really, depending what happened with your husband's situation determines in large part your survivor benefit and when you claim it. Now, if he was too young to begin collecting benefits, so say he was 40, 45, 50, or if he was waiting until 70, Social Security will calculate the survivor benefit amount that is due to you based on when he died. All right, now there are different rules when you are the survivor. And here's the general concept. Whether it's your current spouse who dies or your ex-spouse who dies before you, so long as you meet the rules, you will step into their shoes to collect in those examples that I just showed you because he was the higher earning spouse. Now, if you're the higher earning spouse, though, it's a different scenario. So again, one quick example, the lower earner steps into his shoes. So we have Henry and June here, same example, right? $2,000 when they're both alive, he's getting his $2,000, she gets $1,000. But when he dies, her benefit goes away. So some of you may have already experienced this, that you were both collecting, here's a situation, you're both collecting benefits, but when he predeceased you, all of a sudden your benefit disappeared and you started receiving the higher of the two benefits. You don't get to keep yours, you only get to keep one, and it's the higher one for which you're eligible. Now, here is a situation when a lower earner with an ex-spouse, it's the same situation, meaning you get to step into your ex's shoes if he predeceases you, but you have to let the SSA know, the Social Security Administration know, because they won't know, you're no longer attached in the system. So you would need to let Social Security know that your ex died and somehow deliver some proof documents. You can generally get them either from children or from other family members, a death certificate, and you have your divorce decree papers and so forth. We'll go through the list of documents in a bit. But here it's the same situation. Jerry and Rose were divorced, but Jerry dies first. Rose, once she learns this, she can go to the Social Security, let them know, and she will get a step up and be able to get $2,000 a month instead of $1,500 a month. So if you are divorced and met that 10-year rule, and among others, you will be eligible to step into a higher benefit if he was getting a higher benefit and he predeceases you. So that's just something to make sure you know if that's your situation. Now, what if, though, the tables are turned? And today, we never know who's the higher earner. It could have been Henry, it could have been June. Let's say it's you. You were the higher earner and your benefit is $2,800 a month. And Henry also had a fine career and his primary insurance amount, PIA, is $2,000 a month. Well, what happens is you're going to have a two-step process for deciding which benefits to take when. So the first benefit decision you might make is that you would claim your survivor benefit at your survivor full retirement age. So in this case, you're going to delay taking your benefit, and instead you're going to step into his shoes and get $2,000 a month. And then your second benefit is that you're able to allow your $2,800 to grow with that 8% per year, because this is your own retirement benefit. And then at age 70, you cancel out your survivor benefit and you step into your own retirement benefit. So this is what I mean by with their survivor benefits and their retirement benefits. And you're going to get to call the shots here. But knowing what your plan is and where you get the maximum benefit amount from Social Security will drive your strategy and when you should claim which benefits. All right, so let's do a few examples for these different scenarios when you might switch. And again, you all have your own unique situation. So think about your situation relative to these examples, and hopefully I've hit upon one, but if not, maybe one of these four is your situation. So 4 of the common situations is you become a widow after you reached your full retirement age. Situation 2 is you became a widow after age 60, but you hadn't yet reached your full retirement age. So this is between 60 and 66 or 67. Or you became an early widow before age 60, but you had no minor children still at home or did not have children. Or the 4th situation we'll look at is you became an early widow, again, before age 60, and at that time you had minor children at home. So let me just parse through each of these for you. So in this case, you became a widow while you were both claiming. You're at your full retirement age or older, and the scenario is he was collecting $2,000, she was collecting $1,000 as a spousal benefit. And at the point he died, she steps into his shoes and gets $2,000 a month. Now, interestingly, and this is a big aha for a lot of widows, this is what they tell me, is they were so surprised on 2 fronts. One, that this automatically happened. And that's usually because the funeral director contacts Social Security and lets them know that someone has died. And Social Security works with the funeral director to make sure that the surviving spouse is getting their maximum payment now. So this is an automatic switch. When you're both over full retirement age, you're both collecting benefits. So this happens automatically. But the other big surprise is that, oh my gosh, where'd all the money go? So losing that $1,000 that she was getting on her own with the $2,000 from him, losing the $1,000 from her, the household income drops it by 1/3. And that we're not always prepared for if you're not having these kinds of discussions with Bill and Paula and preparing for the fact that this happens, and what to do when income drops so fast. Now, on another scenario, if he was collecting $2,000 and you were collecting $1,800 on your own record, the same thing will happen is her benefit will be eliminated because $2,000 is more than $1,800, but now the household income from Social Security drops almost in half. So you may already be collecting benefits, or you may not be eligible yet. You can think about your own scenario, but just recognize that if there was a time the 2 of you were collecting, there's a drop in income and it needs to be planned for. All right, so the next scenario is now you're becoming, I wish I could read that headline. Well, let's just see what I was doing. Survivor benefits here. When can you start your survivor benefit? So again, your survivor full retirement age is the anchor, but you can start as early as age 60 and you would get a reduced payment. However, there's a big caution here, and that is if you are still working. And a lot of times when women end up, if you were already working, you continue the job. It's like, well, what do I want to do? I'm not sure. So let me keep something anchored in my life, right? So you keep working, which is great. But if you claim, your benefit will be reduced due to the earnings limit test. Or if you're not working, but you're collecting a pension from the state, if you were a teacher or you work for the state in some capacity, getting a Massachusetts state pension, well, with that public pension, your already reduced survivor benefits will be further reduced for your government pension offset. So there are times when you thought you'd be getting some amount as a surviving spouse, only to find out that there's either a temporary clawback because you're working and earning too much money, or because you're getting a pension and that offsets your survivor benefit. So these are things that you would work out individually with your personal situation. And again, if you can wait until your survivor full retirement age, that's when you no longer have the earnings test apply and you get the maximum survivor benefit. Now, if you were getting a spousal benefit, if that was your only benefit, like the $2,000 person husband, and you're getting your $1,000 spousal benefit, the spousal benefit is always attached to a person, right? So the husband had the higher earning amount, and then you got the 50% of his primary insurance amount. But when he dies, the spousal benefit disappears also. So in that one situation, if your only benefit is a spousal benefit, your survivor benefits will automatically start right away. That's different than if you have your own work record with your own benefits and the survivor benefits. Then you've got two buckets to play with. But spousal benefits work a little differently in that you have to be attached to someone who is claiming. And once that piece disappears, so does your spousal benefit, but you step into his shoes. All right, so here's a scenario where he dies at 64, but she is 60. So now what might a strategy be? Or this continues what we were just talking about. You have a base survivor benefit that will be the higher of what he was collecting or what he would have been collecting. Or if he had claimed early, you would get a different calculation and you'd get 82.5% of his death PIA. This is a calculated benefit Social Security will do for you. And Social Security will work through these kinds of things with you. You don't have to know this much detail, but I just want you to know that if he died early, at 64, maybe he wasn't even claiming yet. So there'd be reduced benefits in there, but they're going to make sure that you as a surviving spouse get at least 82.5% of what they call the death PIA. So those benefits will be calculated on your behalf. And then how much you actually get will be adjusted and reduced further if you claim early. And all of this takes place with the Social Security agents. So they will pull up his work record based on his Social Security number, and they will go through all this determination with you to give you the data that you need to then decide what you want to do and when you want to claim. So now let's say your husband died much earlier, died when you were 47. Well, there are no survivor benefits available between age 47 or any early age and age 60. Survivor benefits only start at age 60. So even if you were a young widow and you had no minor children at home, there are no Social Security benefits here. The assumption is that either you're working or that your family, you and your husband, provided for each other with life insurance. So Social Security doesn't kick in just any old time. And this, I know, very frustrating to widows whose spouse died early and, they maybe were out of work for 2 or 3 years. But this is just so you know the background. This is not meant to be mean. This is just meant as a survivor benefit start at 60, because that's when a lot of times women came out of work. So I just want you to know this is the rule. It might not be a happy rule, but know that survivor benefits always start at 60, and you can claim that early, again, with a reduction. And also, if you're working, that earnings limit is only about $18,000 a year. So if you're making over around $18,000 a year, your benefit claim will be withheld until the point that you're not making so much money, which is really at retirement. And again, if you're receiving a public pension. And if you have your own work history, you can switch. Now, another scenario is when you do have minor children. You became a young widow, in this example at age 47, and you have young children at home. So you're going to receive a family benefit amount, which is 75% of his death benefit amount, and it will be reduced if you're working or when you return to work. Also, his minor children receive a family benefit of 75% of his death benefit, but this will all be capped at a family maximum. So if you had 6 children, you're not going to get, each of them get a full family benefit, a child benefit after the dad passed. It doesn't quite work that way. It's not that generous of a program, but it does provide a good basis for the basics for food and shelter. And that's what these survivor benefits are intended to do. Oh, family benefits also apply if you are divorced and raising young minor children, so long as that marriage had lasted also 10 consecutive years and you have not remarried. So just keep in that mind. So ex-spouses may be eligible for a family benefit, and that's something you should talk to Social Security about if this is your situation, and make sure you're getting the benefits to which you're entitled. Now, here's an example. Again, she's 47 when she becomes a widow, and the minor children will each get a benefit until they reach age 18 or 19 if they're still in high school and they're graduated from high school. So here we have child 1 who was 16 when the dad died. So they're going to get a payment for 3 years, 16, 17, and 18. Child 2 was younger, so they get payments every year, age 13 through 18, but her payments will stop when the younger child reaches 16. So there's a limit to all of these benefits. So in her case, she's going to be 50, and her family benefits as a surviving spouse raising minor children will end at age 50. So she's now got to provide for herself between 50 and 60 at least until survivor benefits turn on. And again, that doesn't happen until age 60. And again, if she's working, if she's been working, then the strategies, there are more strategies and it's more complicated, but we lay everything out for your own situation to determine what's going to work for you. All right, so to wrap this section up, a few important recap notes here. So if you already were receiving spousal benefits at the time your spouse died, your benefit automatically converts to survivor benefits. On the other hand, if you're eligible for your own retirement benefits on your work history, but you haven't applied yet, you can apply for either retirement or survivor benefits. Not now, you had to be at least 60, and then you switch to the other. So that's our switching strategy. If you're receiving your own benefits from retirement work, you can apply for survivor benefits if that will give you a higher payment. And then you have to decide, do you switch right away or do you want to wait until your survivor full retirement age? And just a note here that if you started your retirement benefits, just happened to start retirement benefits less than 12 years ago, then your spouse died, you might be able to withdraw your application and start survivor benefits first, and then at 70, switch over to your own retirement benefits that have appreciated to the maximum amount. So you can see the complexity here and how it depends on where you are when you became a widow or widower and all the circumstances around it. And there are a few steps I thought you'd find helpful. The most important thing is to truly map out your options at your key ages, because what you're trying to answer is, when will you get your highest survivor benefit on one hand, and when will you get your highest retirement benefit on the other, if you have your own work record. So it's really putting a puzzle together is what's going on here. Then it's really important to review your thinking with Paula and Bill. Take a look at what your different options are and work with them on how this will work and fit into your overall retirement income plan, because different strategies will yield, different results. Consider everything else too that's going on, not only from a Social Security perspective, the WEP and GPO, windfall elimination provision, and the government pension offset if you have that state pension plan, but also the earnings limit, taxes, your other resources that you have to work with. So you need to look at the full picture, and as well, and importantly, do you want to keep working? I mean, is this going to work for you to go to the job every day? That might not be an option for you as you become widowed, and it might be more than you can handle. So know that there are lots of factors to consider and there's no right answer. The right answer is whatever works for you. But it's taking a look at all the moving parts, putting together your puzzle, and then knowing how to execute, which is to schedule time with the SSA, Social Security Administration, and bring in your required documentation. You cannot apply for survivor benefits online. Now, here's a list of the various documents that are requested. You don't bring them all. There'll be different ones depending on the agent you talk to, but in general, you need a death certificate, you need a marriage certificate, a final divorce decree. They might also want you to bring, these other documents, but for the most part, you'll talk to an agent and they'll let you know what they need. And what I want to caution you about is when you have your strategy and you're going to file for this benefit first, and then you're going to wait until a different agent switch and file to that one, the Social Security agents will often try to talk you out of your strategy. Don't let them do that. And they're doing that not because they're being mean, but they're doing that because you could get a higher benefit as a survivor today, for example, than your own retirement benefit. And their job is to get you the highest benefit possible on the day you're filing, but it might not work in your strategy. So just know, this is a call I get frequently that, hey, they tried to talk me out of waiting until 70 to get my own retirement benefit. They're just doing their job, but I want you to go in really armed and ready for what could happen. All right, and here's where to get more information, because this is, not easy. If you're hearing this for the first time, I know there's a lot of complexity here. So it's time to take a step back and know that there are just a few things you want to do. Go onto Social Security's website, ssa.gov, and you're going to sign up for your own Social Security statement if you haven't already. And this will give you your view into your retirement benefits. So not your survivor benefits, but your own retirement benefits. And there's a whole section in the retirement area about survivors and what the rules are, how you claim, all the details, and there's a survivor benefit booklet as well. So there's a lot of good information on ssa.gov. Your statement is your retirement benefit statement, and that will show you what you've earned so far if you have a work record on your own. So again, it's this ssa.gov/my social security. That's where you get your most current statement. Paula and Bill know I love to write about baby boomers and what we're doing. And I have a blog, Boomer Retirement Briefs. You're welcome to go there and take a look, poke through the Social Security tab. I have just general information, mostly about retirement benefits and Social Security being around for a while, but you might find something of interest there. And what's most important is to read the information and keep these benefits straight, right? There's retirement benefits, spousal benefits, ex-spousal benefits, and surviving spouse and surviving ex-spouse benefits. So it's 3 separate buckets. They all have different rules. They all interconnect kind of, and you get to switch. So read more about the situations that apply to you. Compare your estimated benefit amounts at those key ages, again, age 60, 62, survivor full retirement age, and 70. So there are 5 ages you want to think about. And then talk to Paula. Make sure you've got the right sequence of events for your own claiming strategy. So with that, I'm giving you a big thank you for patiently sitting through these complex situations. And I hope you picked up a few key tidbits and some helpful hints that can get you on your way to making sure you get the best benefits at the best time for you. And with that, Paula and Bill, I am
Thank
set.
you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I do encourage people to follow Marcia. She's a clear communicator. She's entertaining and she's knowledgeable. There aren't too many people that can make Social Security fun and comprehensible. So we thank you for that. And I know my head's spinning a little, so I would suspect that some people here have some questions. I know there's at least one already put in. Bill, do you want to share that?
Yeah, so and we've had some that came in before this even began, but I can't tell you, first of all, great job. I can't tell you how many times people have left our office with the general strategy. They go to the office, which near us is in Hanover, Mass. And then we get a call later and we changed the whole strategy. So it happens all the time and we go crazy. But I guess my question along those lines is, if someone makes a decision like that, is there a do-over? Is it irrevocable? Can they change it?
Yeah, it is a great question. And thank you for tagging on to that, because it absolutely makes me crazy as well, Bill. And at least if they call you soon, yes, they can undo it. So they're going to withdraw their application. There's a form for that. And then they're going to reapply. And it does it. And again, it's not, the agents aren't meaning to blow up somebody's plan, but they have absolutely no insight into any of your personal individual situation and why you were asking for a claim. You do have to really dig your heels in with these agents and explain that this is my strategy. I want these survivor benefits first and today. That's the claim I'm making. You let me worry about my own retirement benefits later. So Social Security also is just so used to working with older people who, you're both 70 and your husband dies at 70. Well, you were both collecting, you were both after FRA. He was making more, the switch is automatic, right? That's just easy. But anything that goes off of the beaten path, they really struggle with helping and they don't help. But yes, it is not locked in stone, thank goodness. But you do have to take now extra steps, and it's a pain.
Okay, the next question was, I think it was around the income limitations and stuff like that. If someone's taking RMDs from their 401k account towards their income limits, so actually not RMDs, but they're taking distributions between 60 and 66, does it hit the income limits?
No, income limits are truly work. So you want to, so let me make sure the question is clear. So the question is around, if you're going to have clawback of benefits, you're working, maybe making some income, and you want to claim, we'll just say a survivor benefit, and you're 63, so you're claiming a little early. Will there be a clawback if you're working only if you're making over $18,000 a year? But then it's, well, what if I'm not working, but I'm taking distributions out of my IRA? Distributions are not work. So Social Security looks at your work or providing benefits to all of us. They are for retirement, meaning you're not working. So if in order to meet your lifestyle, you need to take a draw out of your IRA and you're getting Social Security benefits, either retirement benefits or survivor benefits, you're fine. There's no clawback. It's a reduced amount if you claimed early, but your Social Security benefit will not be clawed back at all because you don't have any W-2 earnings or self-employment earnings.
I'm speaking on behalf of myself on this one. This is such a complex subject that I need someone like Marcia to answer these questions. So I think a lot of times people think their advisor will know this, or someone's going to help them, and then someone will tell me that I'm supposed to do this. They don't know this, and I'm not picking on people. Don't know what they don't know. So I have a question from an estate planning attorney that we recently came across. So I will. I'm making up the names, but basically, she wants to work till 70. She's 68 now, and she wants to get her husband Social Security, and he was 74 when he died. They were married for almost 35 years, and she's just coming to the realization that she might be able to get her husband Social Security and continue to work. So can you just talk about that a little bit?
I can. That's a great question. So let me make sure I got all the ages right. She's 68 now, wants to work till 70.
Yep.
Her husband died. How old was he when he died?
74.
Oh, he was 74. Okay. Yeah. So I'm going to make some assumptions here. We're going to assume that her husband was claiming, and hopefully he didn't leave any money on the table for him. So he was claiming because he was significantly older than she is. So there's an amount, and we're just going to guess it was $2,500 that he was collecting. Because she is older than her survivor full retirement age, she can absolutely claim her survivor benefit, and she'll get that $2,500 when she steps into his shoes. So she will file a survivor benefit claim, and her work history will not matter, or her working won't matter, because she's beyond full retirement age. So that real key, the linchpin to so much of Social Security is once you've passed your full retirement age, just the next month, nothing gets clawed back. You can work and make $1 million a year. You still get any retirement benefit to which you're eligible. And we just would want to make sure in her case that if she claims that survivor benefit now, is her own benefit at age 70 going to be greater than that $2,500? Because she may get to step up into her own benefit later.
Yeah.
Otherwise, she's at her maximum anyway.
Okay. We're at the
Yeah.
impression that her benefit would be higher. So I think there's been money left on the table, basically. And
Well, there has been. And what I don't know, and it would be interesting to find out, is since she, and this is really a shame that she did not know that she should have applied for her survivor benefit at her survivor full retirement age. We'll say it was 66. So she's got 2 years of benefits that were left on the table, and Social Security will pay her back at least 6 months worth, but will they go back any further for her? And I don't know on the survivor benefit side. My gut says no, they will not. And their position would be, you should have known this.
Yeah.
You know, the information is out there. And
no one beating a dead horse. But we've seen this, again, this was in the state planning attorney. We've seen this of CPAs. Like, this is a real specialized area. That's why we go to someone like Marcia, because I mean, we kind of know what we know, and we know enough to be dangerous, and we pick up the phone and we call Marcia when we get into the weeds.
yeah, and I get calls from divorce attorneys because they're not sure when they're trying to split estates or split, valuation. It's easy when it's just a taxable account with $100,000 in it. He gets 50, she gets 50. But when they're in retirement and you're trying to factor in overall even splits or equitable splits, how do you accommodate Social Security? Well, what if she's divorced, and they said she couldn't get claims on him? There's all kinds of mess that goes on. And again, not usually intentional. It's usually they don't know the rules.
Another question from the audience is, what's the best way to get an accurate number for what the passing spouse's benefit would be? Can the surviving spouse get their earnings record to see how many credits the passing spouse accrued?
The only way you can get an accurate number is to call Social Security. And you'll need information with you. You'll need, his Social Security number if you still have it, the death certificate. So I've heard 2 different things going on with Social Security. First of all, know that they are extremely understaffed and the workers they have are extremely busy. That aside, that's not
always, or just, is that a COVID?
It's actually gotten worse with COVID, though they are trying to hire on new people, but then there's training and such. But it is hectic to try to get through to someone, but don't give up. So some of the agents will tell you, oh, we can't tell you that unless you're ready to claim. Well, how am I going to plan what I'm supposed to do unless I know this number? So be pushy, like really be pushy with these folks. Or if you don't like that person, hang up, call again in an hour, you'll get someone else. I also tend to email Social Security with as many facts as I can get in the email. So I would don't put a Social Security number in. I mean, just go with, my husband died in this year. I'm trying to plan my strategy. I need to know, how do I get access to his death benefit so that I can make some decisions. The other thing is, if your husband or wife had by any chance printed out a relatively current Social Security statement, like right before they died, or if they died during a time when Social Security was still mailing the statements and you happen to have it, there is a section on there that lists the survivor's benefit amounts. It won't be completely accurate, but it will give you a benchmark. And am I going to get more on my own record, or, oh, geez, Dan really did do pretty well. Let me call Social Security now that I think it was about $2,500 and see what I can do. But it is a little bit of a don't give up on this situation, but Social Security is the only one who can tell you.
Okay. And there was a follow-up question that each time they call Social Security, they're getting different numbers. on the
Oh
estimate.
yeah, that doesn't really surprise me either. Um, it's sometimes you get the number from the estimate, which is the point at which he died. But the benefit payment that's ultimately going to come to you, like if you were going to then request the benefit today, well, it's been accruing cost of living adjustments behind the scenes. So sometimes you get a base number, sometimes you get a COLA adjusted number. Sometimes they might assume you're going to, if they know your date of birth, if they put these records together, it's like, oh, she's only 63, so it's going to be a reduced amount. So you get the reduced amount based on the current number. It's unfortunate, but I do equate it to when you call the IRS for any kind of tax information, they tell you we do the best we can with your question, but don't count on the answer. So it is the same thing here. Not reassuring, I know.
People are always shocked when they get hit with the WEP and the government pension offset. I know you touched on it today. Just this morning, we were at a widow's house. Her husband was a police officer on the Cape. So he had retired, he had a pension.
Yep.
She is 60, still working. And so I just kind of want to walk through how that will impact her situation.
What does she do for a job? Is she also a state worker?
No, she's in the private sector.
Oh, good. It won't do anything.
Okay.
Okay, so that was a flip answer, but let me give you some background. So the windfall elimination provision and the government pension offset are intended to make it more equivalent if you are a worker who worked in the private sector for a while, so you've got some Social Security benefits, and you worked in the public sector and you're getting a pension. So the WEP applies to the worker. So in the policeman's case, if he were eligible for both a pension and some Social Security, his Social Security amount would have been reduced. For her, because she's working in the private sector, she has her own work record for Social Security, but she has no pension that she's earned. So she wasn't a teacher, she wasn't the state worker. So in her case, she's going to get whatever her Social Security benefit is based on her 35 highest years of earnings, and then reduced if she claims early at 62. But if she waits until full retirement age, she just gets her benefit, $2,000, we'll say. She also gets the pension from her deceased husband, so long as he set it up correctly. Let's hope so.
They did.
Okay, so as a joint and survivor pension payout paid over 2 lives, she continues to get the pension because she is the survivor. She was not the worker, so she didn't earn the pension. So there's nothing to adjust her Social Security benefit.
Okay. Now, if he had worked in the private sector before going to the municipal sector, and he had his quarters, his Social Security will get reduced by the pension, correct?
It will. And, a police pension, if he were, 20-year, 25-year police guy, their pensions are big. So the windfall adjustment can really take down his Social Security benefit. And usually in that case, if you're a 25-year state worker, police officer, firefighter, you don't have a lot of private sector employment. So you might not have your 20 years and 30 years of substantial earnings. So WEP would apply, but it applies on a small number.
That's all the questions we have that have come in.
These are great questions. I mean, you can see how complicated this gets, but only if it applies to you. Sometimes the scenario is super simple. We were both over full retirement age. We were both collecting. I was only eligible for a spousal benefit. He died. I stepped into his shoes.
Marcia,
but that's not usually what we work with.
I hate this question, but I'm going to ask it because I get it all the time. What the solvency of Social Security? And again, I've heard during COVID that it forced more people into early retirement. So there were more claims, and then there were less people working, paying into it, and the trust fund was going to dry up sooner rather than later. I get the question like that all the time. I figured.
No, and usually in the, what do I call it? My basics Social Security seminar, I always do address this one. Two questions I address, Bill. That's one, when is Social Security going bankrupt? It's not. Let's just get right over that. And the other is, isn't it my money? And my answer is always, no, it's not your money. So on the bankruptcy and the COVID was really interesting. When COVID first happened and lots of people were very concerned, so concerned for their health, and particularly older workers, they were leaving in droves. Right? They were retiring if they could afford to retire. They were leaving their jobs. Some of them started collecting Social Security early. Some of them did not. They preferred unemployment. But there was a concern that that was going to be a real drag on Social Security solvency. There was a big analysis done at Boston College Center for Retirement Research, and they found that even though there was a small blip, that yes, there were more people drawing than initially anticipated for this year and fewer workers paying in, it has not done, it didn't move the needle.
Okay.
There wasn't enough. It wasn't, this will sound stupid, but there wasn't enough of a crisis for Social Security, and the workers bounced back pretty quickly. Not all of them, but enough where things stabilized from Social Security's perspective. The trust fund I actually really worry about is Medicare's hospitalization Part A. That thing is, we're burning through cash right and left, paying for hospital stays for our oldest Americans. And that was a big hit during COVID. I don't know that it moved the needle on that either. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of billions of dollars floating through the system every year. So it's pretty tough to move those needles. But it would be nice if Congress would work on shoring up Social Security's reserve account so that we don't have to worry about this and don't have to have these headlines, you know, making everybody nervous.
Yeah, and we just had another question on that. Did the number of people who died lower the Social Security outflow noticeably? And I think you addressed that.
Yeah, no, it didn't. It didn't. And they're I have to do some more homework when the new research comes out. Some research showed that more people claimed early. Other research showed that it also didn't, while some did, it didn't really move the percentage any higher. And we've been dropping down. Early claims have been dropping down over the last 20 years, which is a good thing. Claiming early just locks you into less money. So except in certain situations that might be appropriate for someone to claim early at 62 for retirement benefits, it usually is not a best practice. So I was glad to see that we didn't all of a sudden have this big run on Social Security early benefits. So that was good news.
And you also said that it's my money. Did you want to?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That's my other question. People, you know, some people are so funny. It's like, hey, I paid all this money and I want my money back. It's like, how long are you going to live? You know, we never know. But for those who live till at least life expectancy, they not only get all of their money back, but they get the money their employers contributed on their behalf, and they get a bunch more. So it is a program set up for protecting older Americans when they live a long time. And, you know, that's a blessing if you live a long time, as you all know. I mean, not everyone gets to do that. But if you live a long time, you will have some form of social insurance hitting your checking account every single month. So that's what we worry about. You don't get dollar for dollar back when you want it. You don't get your homeowner's insurance back either. So it's
That's a very good point, Marcia. And I think at this point, we're going to wrap up. We had said we'd go an hour and we are at that hour. So I wanted to remind people, this is Marcia's book. I use it. I have it tagged. It is like a little Bible for me. We will be mailing copies to those people who gave us their address. We'll be mailing that out in the next 2 weeks. And if someone did not only give us an email, we will send the Kindle version. So keep a lookout for this. But this book is super helpful for anyone who's got Social Security questions. So Marcia, thank you again. I know a number of people put it in the chat how helpful this was. Again,
I'm so glad.
Super helpful. And I hope that you all enjoyed it. If anyone has follow-up questions, I know we'll send out an email in the next day or two. Feel free to respond to that or reach out. And thank you all for being here tonight and taking the time to educate yourself. I think knowledge is our greatest power in this world, and being educated and knowledgeable is terrific. So thank you. I'm going to stop the recording now.